performing with a book in concert, doing this kind of synergistic, reading excerpts and then the music kind of flowing from that seamlessly, that's just been an enormously gratifying experience. I feel like it's been a gift to be able to do a program with these musicians.
This is the Book of Life. I'm Heidi Rabinowitz. In our last episode, I told you that the Book of Life podcast will reach its 12th birthday, or I guess you could say its bat mitzvah, in December 2017, and that after that, it will go off the air, possibly permanently. I expect to get back to some kind of podcasting within the next year, and when I'm ready to start again, I will post a Book of Life episode here on this feed to announce my new plans. In the meantime, please help me get ready for our grand finale. Leave me a voicemail or send me an audio recording with your comment about what the Book of Life has meant to you, about a favorite interview, about new podcasting ideas, or any other thoughts you want to share. Your voice could end up being part of the show. I'll give you a how-to at the end of today's episode, plus there will be written instructions at bookoflifepodcast.com. Okay, now let's hear an interview. I met Linda Kass, the author of Tasa's song, when she held a book in concert with the Carpe Diem String Quartet in Boca Raton, Florida. She read excerpts interspersed with classical musical performances. We also heard the signature piece, Tasa's song, composed especially for this book by Charles Weatherbee. Let's start by listening to a bit of Tasa's song. So I'm here with Linda Kass, the author of Tasa's song, just following a wonderful performance. It was called A Book in Concert. So first, Linda, tell us about this event.
A book in concert is the synergy of my words in Tasa's song with the music that was in my book. Tasa is a violin prodigy, and she was either playing music or thinking of music, and it helped her get through much of the challenges that she faced as a young girl living through World War II in eastern Poland.
So what makes this book unique among Holocaust books?
Well, Tasa and her family lived in eastern Poland, and it was the swath of Poland that was first controlled by the Soviets. So the first 2 years of World War II, this portion of Poland, really the fringes of the battlefield, they were not under German oppression, really. And in this story itself, Tasa and her family are not in concentration camps. They live underground. Much of really what happened to Tasa is exceptional rather than typical of Holocaust survivors. She lived underground with family members, and that also was unusual because people were in hiding either by themselves or maybe with one other person.
Okay, so she was very lucky.
Yeah.
She had her family with her. She was hiding but not being tortured.
Right.
And then I heard you saying to one of the people who was getting an autograph that in a way it wasn't a Holocaust story. It was more about an individual, and that happened to be the setting. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, Tasa is a character. Tasa is a human being. And while this is the context of the Holocaust, the context of World War II, the setting of Eastern Poland for the most part, the story is really about her and her music and her family. You really saw inside the heart of someone. So it's not a war story in that way.
How did you come to write this book?
Well, the dramatic touch points of Tasa's journey were the dramatic touch points of my mother's own life. This is a fictional story. The characters, once they get on the page, become who they are, their interactions with one another and with what happens, the actions that take place. They become who they are on the page. But the major touch points that happened to Tasa did happen to my mother. She lived in Eastern Poland. She did board in a school that educated both Catholics and Jewish children. And she had suffered a lot of the kinds of things that this character in the book also suffered.
What kind of research did you have to do for this book?
My background's in journalism, so I love to do research. And I researched a lot of different sources. So I researched books, the internet. I sometimes got ideas from photographs. Certainly, I had interviewed my mother, and I knew about her life and what happened in Poland. So it came from multiple places. I think also because I'm a first-generation American and I always knew that both my parents actually survived the Holocaust, I was always very, very noticing of any information, any films, any books, my whole life before I knew I was writing this book. So somehow I had a lot of information in my head, even when I started writing Tasa's song.
So you've been researching it your whole life?
In a way, yeah.
Talk about the role of music in the book. And in particular, can you tell us about the playlist that's at the back of the book and how the entries were chosen?
I believe music is very healing. And I also felt that the character needed to have something to help her survive the kind of life and loss she had. And it seemed like music was something that she could lean on. So that said, she was a violinist. Obviously, a violin can be transported easily for a character who is displaced and must be on the run. And it's also a very melodious instrument, and there's wonderful music that's written for the violin. Music helped me tell the story in a way. I chose pieces of music that seemed to express what Tasa was going through at a particular time. And in a way, the playlist that I have at the back of the book really began as I was researching music, and I was trying to keep track of what music I decided on and what music she had been listening to in a previous chapter. And so I was really kind of keeping track of it, and I realized I had myself this playlist and talked to my publisher about putting it in the back of the book, and they thought that was great. So that's why I did that. And actually, a lot of readers have told me they really liked seeing that. And some people said they wish they would have known it was back there when they started reading the book, and they found it as they were done. But I think that it's useful.
Are you a musician yourself?
I play the piano. I can read music. I listen to all kinds of music. I love music. And I should say also my father was born in Vienna, so classical music was something that my father listened to a lot. He loved it. And so it's been somewhat in my DNA, I guess.
So today we heard a composition based on this book. How did that come to be?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and about 20 years ago, I started getting very involved with the Columbus Symphony, not as a musician, but as a volunteer and as a trustee and whatnot. And the concertmaster at the time was a man by the name of Charles Weatherbee. He was probably the youngest concertmaster in the country at the time. So Chaz and I have gone way back. I've known him for many, many years. When he left the symphony, he started a string quartet. And he still performs that string quartet in Columbus, even though he moved to Colorado. The members of the quartet do not live in Columbus. They live in different cities. But they still come to Columbus and they perform, and I've stayed in touch with Chaz. And when I was done with my manuscript and I already had my publisher, I wanted to have Chaz take a look at the manuscript to just make sure that if any musician ever read the book, that they would not find one fault with it. I did a lot of research around violin playing, even though I don't play the violin. A lot of people ask me if I do. I've seen a lot of videos on how to play the violin, but I really wanted him to look at it for technical reasons. And when he did, he really got inspired by the book. And he asked two things. One, he wondered if we could do something together, and that's what born the book in concert. And then he also asked me if there was a song, Tasa's song, if there was a song. I said, no, Tasa's song. It's her journey. It's her story. So he asked if he could compose such a song, and, I couldn't believe he wanted to do that, and I was just dumbstruck. And just when I heard it for the first time, it gave me chills.
Is there anything else that you want to tell us about the Carpe Diem Quartet who performed today?
Well, Carpe Diem, they're in their 11th year. Their musicians are individually acclaimed, and the quartet itself is very well known. They're very sort of boundary breaking. They tend to do programs with usually not authors. I'm kind of the first for them to do something like this, but they typically partner with different kinds of music so that they're mixing classical quartet repertoire with acoustical guitar, with mandolin, just with different kinds of instruments and different kinds of musical genres. So in that, they're very boundary breaking and innovative in what they do. They've traveled the world. They've played everywhere. They just debuted at Carnegie Hall in January. And it was my honor to be part of a program. We've done this book in concert 6 times now, and we're going to try to do it some more.
That's great. Your book is published by She Writes Press. Can you tell us a bit about them? Do they only publish female authors?
They do. It's a curated hybrid press. It's a real interesting form of publishing. It has the best qualities of traditional publishing and some good qualities of self-publishing, even though it's not a self-published book. But there's a real collaborative nature to this particular press, something I was really seeking. There's certain elements of the press that an author can still retain herself. And I liked everything about this press. They put out probably about 40 books a year.
Is there anything else that you would like to talk about that I haven't thought to ask you?
Well, I think the experience of meeting readers, that's always wonderful because, you're really getting kind of feedback. It really is all about the reader. 2 different readers read 2 different things into the book. So I love going to book clubs and performing with a book in concert, doing this kind of synergistic, reading excerpts and then the music kind of flowing from that seamlessly. That's just been an enormously gratifying experience. I feel like it's been a gift to be able to do a program with these musicians. So all in all, I think Tasa's song has been a really wonderful piece of my life.
Are you working on any other books?
Yes, I actually am. This one's taking a lot longer because I'm also a bookstore owner, and I've just got more than I can handle right now. So,
well, shout out your bookstore. What's it called and where is it?
Okay. My bookstore is Gramercy Books, and it's in a first-ring suburb of Columbus, Ohio. It's in Bexley, Ohio, and it's a curated independent bookstore. Independent bookstores are a lot of work, but they're joyful work. So I love what I do there.
And then go back to the book you're working on. Was there anything else you can tell us about it?
It will also be historical fiction. I'm working on kind of a different approach to this particular book. It's really a novel of linked stories told in different perspectives, but focused all around one character. And we'll see if this works out. I'm about 4 or 5 chapters in. So,
okay, great. Linda Kass, thanks so much for speaking with me.
Thank you so much, Heidi.
Hi, I'm Jessica Deutsch, illustrator of the Illustrated for Kavot, a graphic novel of Jewish ethics. I will be joining the Book of Life podcast soon, and I would like to dedicate this session to the month of Elul and all her observers.
If you'd like to share a message for the Book of Life's grand finale episode in December 2017, you can call it in by phone at 561-206-2473. You can use your computer's microphone to record a voicemail at speakpipe.com/bookoflife. That's speakpipe.com/bookoflife. Or you can record an MP3 yourself and email it to me at bookoflifepodcast@gmail.com. To have your comments included in the December episode, please get them to me by November 30th, 2017. Check out bookoflifepodcast.com for links to Linda Kass's writing, to her bookstore in Ohio, and to the Carpe Diem String Quartet. As always, our background music is provided by the Freilach Makers Klezmer String Band. Thanks for listening, and happy reading.